Welcome back to Crash Bandicoot. We're in Wampa Island and we're going to get things started right away. This is the video I thought about there. The start of the intro of the previous one.
Failing a bonus round doesn't cost lives. Yay!
Aku Aku is being very judgmental in that loading screen. I don't like how he looked there. He does have a voice later on, but that's not until the third game, I think. And now that we're in the second island, we can actually get most of the clear gems the first time around. Pretty impressive just how much technical prowess there was in the first game as well. Like, the water physics here aren't that much of an improvement. I mean, this game looked great for 1996. I should probably show off more of the original game in later videos.
They use the old PlayStation shimmer trick where you read junk data off the frame buffer or however
yeah,
it was.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, in case I haven't pointed it out yet, when it comes to those Venus flytraps, it's the red ones, they will activate as soon as you land on them, and the purple ones are on a timer. And, you may notice something strange down there. There's this gray exclamation box. And we backtrack across here. Huh, there's two boxes that spawned. Those weren't there before. Yeah, later games do that as well, but they're a bit better about telegraphing them. There are actually some later level design changes where they made certain, you know, bullshit invisible stuff a bit more obvious in the Sane Trilogy compared to the originals. Basically what I'm saying is the Sane Trilogy is much better, and I'm saying this as someone who has played Crash Bandicoot games for the better part of 25 years. You know, I'm as obsessive a fan as they come, and I'm telling you, this version is better than the originals.
If an ardent supporter of the originals says that this version is better, I'm inclined to believe it.
Yeah, unfortunately, these bonus rounds, later on in the game, they pretty much all come down to like precision box breaking like this. It's really annoying. This one was even more annoying in the original because you had to jump on the gray boxes 10 times instead of 5. The doubling up is something they introduced in Crash 3, and it's been in every other Crash game since then. You also get a checkpoint when you complete the bonus round, which I think wasn't in the original. I'm not sure. It might be. Certainly in some of the later games when you completed bonus rounds, it had that effect.
I gotta say, the original is sounding more and more brutal every time you bring it up.
It was very much an experimental first entry in the series. My original intro idea was to say that this game contained two of my favorite games of all time and its predecessor. But I thought I thought that was a bit too mean. Here's our second boss, Riverroo. This guy is in the first two Crash games, and he's a pretty famous enemy.
And I do believe that I've seen this before.
Yeah, Riverroo is an insane kangaroo, and in the Sane Trilogy they gave him a straitjacket. So you gotta jump on these big TNT boxes. This is the only time this explosive box appears in the entire series. And he changes his jumping pattern every time, and it's basically a memorization puzzle. I also should point out, I guess, that every boss has different voice acting in the NST. Everyone coming back has played this character before, but none of them were in the original, like in the original very first game, or the other three. Speaking of voice acting, we're gonna go back to the original. I'm not gonna show off that much of the original fight, but there is one pretty big difference, which is Riverroo's little yelp when you attack him. See if you recognize this.
Oh my god, it's the Noid.
Might have been used for the Noid, but the one I know it is that's that one laughing hyena from Lady and the Tramp. It's the same stock sound effect.
Oh, holy crap, it is.
And here's a better look at Wampa Island. I never knew you could do that as a kid. It's strange. Anyway, the Lost City. This is where the difficulty really spikes in both versions of the game. You'll see there, the hint is to break every box without dying to earn a special gem. In the original Crash, every level worked this way. And in the NST, which is the fan nickname for the Sane Trilogy, they changed it so that only the special colored gems are the ones where you have to defeat or break every box and do it without dying. The colored gems are, you've seen those like weird wired platforms in the last couple levels. When you collect a colored gem, it unlocks that particular path.
Gotcha.
This level really likes to hide boxes, just off screen. Vicarious Visions did a pretty decent job of making it a bit more obvious where the hidden boxes are. No such luck in the originals, though.
You had to just memorize it. You had to trial and error through it.
Yeah. So that lovely gentleman whose head we just collected there, that is one of the other antagonists of the game, Dr. Nitrous Brio, or N-Brio, as the case may be. You saw him in the opening cutscene. He was the one who was pulling the lever on the Cortex Vortex that genetically modified Crash. He has his own special bonus rooms that we'll be seeing in this video. And it's these moving platform sections that are really the big difficulty spike early on in the game. You have to be able to master these.
Yikes.
Yeah, it is unforgiving, and there is a little bit of artificial difficulty given the changes to the physics, but I mean, it's not like it was easy before. God damn it. Yeah, that's what still being in 3D while having a 2D level will do to you. Yeah, that gray box, that activates some boxes at the top of this little tower climbing section.
Now the gray box, once you collect it, it's collected. It's not like...
Yeah, you activate it once.
Okay.
Later games in the series do some more interesting things with the exclamation mark boxes. But in this one, it's just, they're still trying out new things. This was the first 3D game that Naughty Dog had ever worked on, and so they were basically just trying out things like, what kind of 2D action game ideas can we get away with in 3D? The original, god damn it, the original game when it was in development, its nickname before they decided on any of the characters, they called it internally the Sonic's Ass Game. Because they figured that in order to create a 2D game in 3D, you'd just be staring at Sonic's ass the whole time. So this is the N-Brio bonus levels. There's only a few of them in the game, but they're pretty tough. This is the easy one. N-Brio's a bit of a coward.
Digging the soundtrack.
Yeah, all three games have a really great soundtrack. Although it becomes a little less melodic in later games, but it's still great. Also, yeah, those platforms, once you start jumping on them, they start rotating. There is a difference between the two lizards that we've seen so far in this level. The one that's red cannot be spun attack. You have to jump it. The good thing about being in 3D there is that if you time it just right, you can actually use the foreground to jump back into the level, but it's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, some of these platforming mechanics look like they're just there for the sake of being difficult.
They're there for experimentation. Like you have to see what you get away with before you can make a really great 3D action game, right? Because Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin, who were the two co-founders of Naughty Dog, worked together on sort of a retrospective of the development of Crash, or the first Crash. That's on Andy's personal blog, and it's really interesting. Andy also did an interview for Wired Magazine as part of their War Stories series, and that also goes into a lot of detail. My voice is cracking out of excitement. That also goes into a lot of detail about the behind-the-scenes stuff in this game. You get one chance at that. Otherwise, you're down 2 boxes and there's nothing you can do about it. I was just excited that I completed that without dying. And remember, this is how every level worked in the original.
So the original, so I have to assume that development of the second game, which we won't get into deeply until we get to the second game, I'm sure, but I have to assume part of the development was a focus study where they brought a bunch of gamers in to tell them what was bullshit about the first game.
From what I could tell, it was mostly just reviews that complained about the difficulty at the time, and they sort of tuned their feedback based on that. Getting my words mixed up again. I'm never going to get over this. Wording up my mixes, as my parents sometimes say. Anyway, this is the Lost City. It's basically another temple ruin-ish themed level. You'll see at least 2 or 3 levels for each of the different environments in the game. Those TNT boxes are... it's always a nasty surprise when you're playing this game for the first time and you try to spin attack the TNT and it blows up in your face.
Oh, that causes it to pop immediately?
Yeah, if you spin attack it, it will blow up in your face and you'll either die or take an Aku Aku mask off, depending. And oh yeah, you liked those bats from before, now they're in 3D. This is kind of a harmless enemy. It's a red spider that won't attack you, and you just spin it away. You might have also noticed that there's a bit of an artificial draw distance in this level that's just making it faithful to the original, because your vision was also obscured and they played that into the level design. Stuff like this, for example, they recreated the old draw distance because you weren't supposed to see what was ahead of you.
Huh.
And I completely messed up the timing of that. I forgot how that worked. Thankfully, though, that platform comes back after a few seconds. So here's one bit of another anti-frustration change. Those Wumpa fruits guiding you toward the invisible boxes were not there in the original. You just had to guess. It was not good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fake difficulty, especially in the first game. It kind of gets ironed out in later entries, but it never really stops being artificially difficult. I guess I should also point out that there have been some legitimate complaints about the physics and the handling of Crash relative to this, and I think a lot of that just has to do with muscle memory. Crash doesn't have nearly as much forward momentum in the NST version of Crash 1 as in the original, and that can cause a lot of basically just failures of muscle memory, where the physics are close enough to the originals that it'll screw you up if you think you're playing one version or the other. Like, I had a terrible time going back to the original because the physics were so different, just for recording footage for this.
better, worse, or just different?
A little of all three. For the most part, it's better. But there are definitely some levels later on that rely a lot more on the form momentum that Crash has. And because the level design is all one-to-one, it doesn't really work out. But that's the exception rather than the rule. And since I know someone is going to point it out in the thread, there are some death animations that I've missed. But we'll be seeing those later. Delicious.
I'm a little disappointed it doesn't spit out the shoes.
Yeah. Coco has a different drowning animation. In fact, most of her animations are relatively tame. And here are some of the idle animations. Very Sonic-like.
Mm-hmm.
And this next one coming up was actually a fan-submitted idle animation as part of the Sane Trilogy. Someone suggested this animation in a contest. So there you go. Wumpa Fruit, the inside, it's purple. That's now canon. I forget who it was. It was kind of like the... it was kind of like in Dead Space 2 where they had a contest for a particular death animation.
I seem to recall that, but I don't know if I know which animation it is.
Yeah, that was not in the original game. That was a submission for a contest.
They had fun with it.
Yeah, it was great, and it only triggers if you have at least one Aku Aku mask as well.